Well, it's good to be back with you for another day of Bible study. My name's Kevin Young. I have the privilege of serving at Christ Table as lead clergy. If you'd like to know more about Christ Table, all you need to do is visit the URL that's right there, www.christstable.today. If you'd like to find out more information about this study in particular, that URL, go.christstable.today/bittersweet, is where you can find everything about this study. In fact, there are a couple of resources there absolutely free that you can download, PDFs. One of them is the study schedule, walk through every day, as well as all the readings for all of the days. The other one is our curriculum that we utilize to walk through to help you go a little bit deeper each and every day into the study. I will say that if you want to help us out at Christ Table, or if you want extra resources beyond those, we offer the printed version of the study and this nice little bound book that you can get by clicking the button on that website that says Get the Box. It comes along with several other resources that will help you navigate this study as well. As our gift to you, we send those out and put those together. And then afterwards, the ones that we have left over, we simply sell those to help fund the ministry here. The other thing that I want to make sure that you are aware of is this book came out a couple of months ago. If you don't already have this, I would encourage you to get it, or you may know somebody who this would help. If you are disappointed, disillusioned, discouraged, done with the church or with church people, this may well be your lifeline. drkevinyoung.com will give you more information about that. Now, this study is walking through 1 Peter. 1 Peter, a book that is written by Peter to a community of Christians who are suffering persecution. And it seems as though in reading this that some of them may be on the fringe of actually just kind of throwing up their hands and walking away from their faith. And Peter has been, up until this point, reminding them of the importance of their faith and what they have gained in following Jesus, and has been slowly trying to help them see ways in which they can not eliminate the suffering. It's outside of their control, and oftentimes, many times it is for us as well, but how to endure, how to persevere, how to make it through, some strategies and ideas for them to turn something bitter into maybe something that's sweet enough in order to survive. So whenever we come to today's text, 1 Peter 3, 1 through 7, we're going to come to a pretty difficult text. Many of us have heard this text preached or taught our whole lives, and I will say badly. So what we're going to do is let's just go ahead and read the text, that way we can get it out of the way, because if you haven't done the reading yet, you're going to be like, what's he talking about? And like the first 2 words or 3 words in, you're going to be like, oh, I got it. Yeah, this is not going to go well. I'm going to give you some things to think about here on this text and be very kind of direct about it. And hopefully by the end of it, we will have opened up some new thinking about this text, a new lens for you to see through. But a reminder, this text is 2,000 years old. It's not going to fit modern understandings of relationships and the world around us. And we shouldn't expect it to fit into all of those things, because it's written for a different time and a different people in a different world with different thinking. In the same way, you wives must accept the authority of your husbands. And everyone went, here we go. And that's what I thought whenever I looked at this again as well for today. Here we go. Let's talk about suffering. Yeah, because there is very few passages in Scripture that have caused women to suffer more than this one, and 1 or 2 from Paul that are like it, right? 1 Peter 3, 1, right out of the gate. In the same way, you wives must accept the authority of your husbands. I want to point out that this isn't saying the authority of your husbands, there's a period, it doesn't continue and say, over you. There's no implication in these verses that their husband's authority was over them. It's not said here. It just simply says that you must accept the authority of your husbands. I've been in enough counseling, enough relationships to know that there are many relationships where one partner or the other does not accept the authority that one or the other brings to the relationship. Both people are authorities in a relationship, authorities on themselves, and oftentimes authorities in areas in which the partner is not. My wife is an authority on many different fields and many different things that I am not. I can pretend as though I am, but that wouldn't be true. Peter here, you wives must accept the authority of your husbands that he brings to the relationship. And if you're not treating him as though he has authority or has equal authority as you, that's a problem. Why do I say equal authority as you? Well, because we know from cultural context, as well as specifically from Paul, whenever Paul writes similar statements such as this, what he's writing to, if you're paying attention, is scenarios where women have so enjoyed the freedom that comes within Christianity in this time period that they have taken authority over and above their husbands. Sometimes that they have allowed that freedom to become something more, I think, than was intended. Peter here is kind of hinting at the same thing, in that there must be a balance in the authority. In the world around you and the culture around you, I understand that it's a patriarchal society and that men have all of the authority and all of the power. But now that things are equal and you have freedom in Christ that women in other places don't allow that to embolden you to a place where you usurp authority, take too much authority, or diminish the authority of your husband. Then, even if some refuse to obey the good news, your godly lives will speak to them without any words. Peter says the world's going to see this. They are perhaps going to refuse the gospel of Jesus, but the gospel of Jane, the gospel of Sally, the gospel of you, female, woman, is going to speak to them without any words. How you can be in freedom and be equal and yet not be more than, still have respect for your husband, still treat him with deference in moments where that's appropriate, not go overboard on authority. People are going to see how you handle this, and it's going to have an effect on them that the words of the Bible, the scriptures, don't. They will be won over by observing your pure and your reverent life. Don't be concerned about the outward beauty of fancy hairstyles, expensive jewelry, or beautiful clothes. Peter here says, be modest. Oftentimes, whenever we teach about modesty in the church, we teach about modesty as though it's something that is about hiding the body, about preventing men from lusting. Women, you're to be modest. So wear a one-piece, not a two-piece bathing suit. Don't wear that shows any of your curves or figures. If a man stumbles or lusts or trips up because of something that you've worn or the way that you look, the way that God created you, that's on you because you did not follow biblical modesty. No, biblical modesty, whenever Peter writes about it, whenever Paul writes about it, whenever Jesus talks about it, biblical modesty is all about not flaunting your wealth. Look at these three things that are listed here. Don't be concerned about the outward beauty of fancy clothes. Those are expensive. Or sorry, fancy hairstyles. Those are expensive. Any woman or man who's ever been to a hairdresser, to a salon, understands. Fancy hairstyles are expensive. Jewelry, it uses the word expensive. And beautiful clothes are expensive. Don't be concerned about spending so much money on the outward appearance. Why? Because the inside is what really matters. And that's where you should be putting all of your time, energy, and resources. Clothe yourself inside with the beauty that comes from within, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. I want to pause here. Not a gentle and quiet mouth, not a gentle and quiet opinion, a gentle and quiet spirit. Gentle, a spirit that is not harsh. Quiet, a spirit that is calm, isn't shouting in pain or difficulty or trauma. Unfading beauty. It's not telling women to shut up. He's not telling women to be quiet here. That's not what's going on. He's saying, be modest in your expenses on the outside, and instead recognize that true wisdom comes from a beauty of the heart and of the soul, which is precious to God. That's what God looks on anyway, Peter says. And that's how the holy women of old, how they made themselves beautiful. Let me tell you, those wandering nomads with camels and sand everywhere weren't spending a lot of money making themselves look beautiful. So they clothe themselves in something different. And the world around you will look at you, and at first they might think you're an outsider, but they're going to see what's on the inside. And those women of old, they put their trust in God and they accepted the authority of their husbands. For instance, Sarah obeyed her husband Abraham and called him her master. So they put their trust in God, the women did, rather than putting their trust in fancy hairstyles and all those things. Doesn't say it's wrong. Okay? Doesn't say it's wrong. Just says it's not the better use of money for where you are and what you're doing. If you're in a situation where you're suffering, don't try to keep up with your oppressors. Show them a different way of living. This is what Peter has been saying the whole way through, right? Not saying it's wrong here. Just saying, in the situation that you're in, there may be a better tactic to take. She accepted the authority, or these women accepted the authority of their husbands. I want to say again, did not accept the authority of their husbands over them. But then we have this instance, this example. Sarah obeyed Abraham and called him her master. I don't have time to go into the exegetical nuances of this idea of master and what it meant in those days, probably 1,000, 2,000 or more years before even Peter is writing here. So it's a ways back that Abraham is. But Sarah obeyed her husband Abraham. This is a decision that Sarah has made. It doesn't say Sarah had to. It says Sarah essentially makes the choice. Sarah obeys her husband Abraham and makes the choice and called him her master. So Sarah, in this specific context, is making specific choices and decisions to put her trust in God, to accept the authority of her husband, and to realize that it's what's in the heart rather than what's on the outside that really matters to God, and to affecting change in the world around. And this is for instance, this isn't a command that every woman has to refer to their husband as master. Good luck to me. Lord, protect me if I were to try to make Sally call me master, right? But there are many moments where Sally will obey, or probably a better word here is to listen to what I ask or what I say and do it. Maybe if there may be question, sometimes she'll question, sometimes she'll push back, sometimes she won't, but other times she'll go ahead, and I'll do the same for her oftentimes. Especially when we're around other people, we tend to treat each other, and I think every couple does this, with a higher level of respect and regard and deference when they're around other people. This, for instance, is an example. It's not a command. It's an example of how Sarah interacted with Abraham, because she is a woman of old, which Peter has been talking about here. Not an old woman, but a woman from the past. And he says, you are her daughters whenever you do what is right without fear of what your husbands might do. You fall in the line of amazing women like Sarah whenever you don't have fear of what your husband might do to you because of the freedom that you have in Christ. And so, husbands, whenever you give your wife's freedom to be equal, to be able to push back, to be able to disagree, you actually will be surprised at how that gives women the freedom to trust and to simply obey in moments what you're asking them to do. And it works the other direction as well, right? Whenever women treat their husbands in that same way, then it allows men to trust and to just simply obey or to respond in kind to the request because there's an understanding and a trust there. In the same way, and this verse often gets cut off, but we have included it specifically in this study with the first 6 verses rather than putting it into tomorrow, because a whole lot of pastors and churches, whenever they're preaching those verses, stop there, and it becomes about men having authority over women, which that passage never says at all. And forget about this idea of equality. In the same way, your husbands must give honor to your wives. Treat your wife with understanding as you live together. She may be weaker than you are, but she is your equal partner in God's gift of new life. Treat her as you should, so your prayers will not be hindered. You get this wrong, it's going to stand in the way of the relationship between you and God. Not because God is got his finger in his ears, kind of ignoring you. No, that's not what's going on here. God's not up here doing one of these. But because it's going to sever your relationship with God because you have gotten off track. She may be weaker than you are. It does not say she may be weaker than you are intellectually. It does not say she may be weaker than you are spiritually. It does not say that she may be weaker than you are in her understanding of the world around you and her ability to operate business affairs and her ability to be wise. It says she may be weaker than you. She may not be as literally, physically strong as you, but she is in every way your equal. Specifically and especially in God's gift of new life. You are not higher on the ladder than her in your household or in God's household. You are not stronger than her in any other way necessarily, except maybe, and not always, physically. But even though she may be weaker than you in something, don't get the idea that she is any lower than you are. She is your equal partner no matter what. And you better act like it, treat her like it, believe it, because if not, it's going to affect your spiritual walk, your spiritual life. Peter calls it out. So why is all this here? All this is here because Peter is encouraging his people to recognize that the way that they live in the world around them is important. It can affect the suffering that they endure, but it also can transform their captors. The folks who are oppressing them can change because of the way that those people who are being oppressed respond and act. So Peter here is essentially saying, I'm going to slice through all these stereotypes of women and how they dress and men and all these things, patriarchal society in the ancient world, a lot like the modern world in a lot of ways, but let's slice through all of those. And what Peter says here is let's try a different way around. Let's try to find a different way through relationships and a way that's actually going to help the situation that you're in and suffering and also help you grow closer to God. And it's for women, recognize that showing the heart and building the heart and what's on the inside actually is going to far exceed any money that you can spend, anything that you can gain by putting work and intentionality in the outside. Peter doesn't say don't do it, but he's just saying when you're looking at the return on investment, the ROI, the return on the investment for inside is far greater than the return on investment for the outside. For men, remember your place, dude. It's not above her. She's your equal partner. And in God's eyes, you two are. Don't you forget it. So make sure that you take advantage of all of those resources that are available for you online so that you can join us in going deeper in this study. You can get those at go.christstable.today/bittersweet. Looking forward to being back with you tomorrow as we continue on in this study of bittersweet.